I'll now create the complete 4,000-word story based on the detailed outline following all your requirements. I'll write it in American English from the first-person perspective of Conrad, a man in his 20 seconds, 40 seconds, and will include all the specified elements. I grew up as the son who always had to work twice as hard for half the recognition. My entire life, I lived in my brother Adam's shadow. Despite being the one who helped transform our family's small construction business into something truly valuable, I sacrificed my dreams, dedicated my time, and poured my soul into building a legacy, only to hear those crushing words at what I thought would be my moment of recognition. "Your brother deserves it," my dad said, as they handed him everything we had built and left me with absolutely nothing. If you have ever felt undervalued by the people who should appreciate you the most, let me know where you are watching from and hit that subscribe button. This story might just help you find your own path forward. Growing up in Fairfield, Ohio, I never questioned why my parents, James and Linda, always seemed to favor my older brother. Adam was 3 years older, more outgoing, and somehow always the center of attention. From the beginning, there were subtle signs that he was the favorite child, but I tried not to let it bother me. When Adam got his first bike, it was brand new, with all the bells and whistles. When my turn came 3 years later, I received his hand-me-down with a fresh coat of paint. I told myself it was just because we did not have much money, but then Christmas came. Adam received the latest gaming system while I got educational books. Even then I rationalized it. Maybe they just thought I was more academically inclined. Our family owned a small construction business my father had started before I was born. It was nothing special back then, just local residential projects and small commercial jobs. Dad worked long hours, and as we got older, he expected us both to help out during summers and weekends. I still remember being 13, spending my Saturdays organizing invoices and learning how to use the scheduling software, while Adam at 16 would show up late, move some lumber around for an hour, and then get permission to leave with his friends. Yet somehow, Dad would praise him for his hard work while barely acknowledging my contributions. In high school, I poured myself into academics, maintaining a perfect 4.0 gigapascals, while still working at the family business every moment I could spare. I learned every aspect of construction management, from bidding to scheduling to client relations. Meanwhile, Adam barely graduated, skipping classes and showing minimal interest in his future. During my senior year, something happened that should have been the proudest moment of my young life. I received a full scholarship offer to Cornell University for their engineering program. This was my dream, a chance to build a future based on my own merits and hard work. The night I told my parents about the scholarship, I expected celebration. Instead, my father frowned deeply. "Conrad, you know we need you here. The business is growing, and with your skills, with the computer systems and organization, we cannot afford to lose you." My mother nodded in agreement. "Plus, Cornell is so far away. What about the family? Adam is staying local. Why do you need to go across the country?" The comparison stung. Adam had dropped out of community college after one semester, claiming it was not for him, and my parents had responded with understanding and support. Yet here, they were discouraging me from accepting a full scholarship to an Ivy League school. After weeks of guilt trips and family discussions, I reluctantly turned down Cornell and enrolled at the University of Cincinnati. Close enough to continue working nearly full-time at the family business, but still a decent school for business management. I told myself it was the practical choice, that I was being responsible. Now I see I was just being manipulated. "You are making the right choice, son," my father said when I told him my decision. "Adam may not have the head for school, but you are smart with numbers and planning. The business needs that." Those words should have been a warning. I was valued, not for who I was, but for what I could contribute to their plans. The pattern was already set. I just could not see it yet. While studying business management at the University of Cincinnati, I was essentially working full-time at our family construction company. My days started at 5:30 a.m., handling emails and preparing job schedules before morning classes. Between lectures, I would take calls from foremen and suppliers. Evenings and weekends were spent either at job sites or implementing new systems to improve our operations. During my sophomore year, I developed a digital inventory management system that cut our material waste by 23%. I spent months learning programming on my own time, testing the system on weekends, and training our staff to use it. The result was nearly $60,000 in savings the first year alone. This is really something Conrad, my father, admitted when reviewing the quarterly numbers. I never would have thought of doing it this way. That small acknowledgement meant everything to me at the time. I was so desperate for approval that even these crumbs of recognition fueled me to do more. Meanwhile, Adam would drift in and out of the business as his mood dictated. Sometimes he would show up at job sites and work alongside the crews for a week or two, earning praise from my father for getting his hands dirty. Then he would disappear for weeks, claiming he was exploring other opportunities that never seemed to materialize. No matter how long he was gone, he was always welcomed back with open arms. When I graduated summa cum laude, while simultaneously managing 3 major projects for the company, my parents attended the ceremony but left early to check on a job Adam was supposedly supervising. The contrast became even more painful 2 months later when they threw a huge celebration dinner when Adam completed a 2-week certification course in basic construction safety. "We are so proud of you for sticking with something and seeing it through," my mother gushed, serving Adam his favorite meal and dessert. No one mentioned that I had been sticking with both school and work without complaint for years. By this point, I had become essential to the company's operations. I had modernized our bidding process, implemented project management software, and developed relationships with bigger commercial clients that took us from a small local outfit to a respected regional contractor. Our annual revenue had increased from under $1 million to nearly $4 million in the 5 years since I had joined full-time. It was during this period of growth that I met Jennifer at a networking event for local businesses. She was working for an architectural firm that often collaborated with construction companies, and we connected over shared interests in sustainable building practices. Jennifer was the first person who clearly saw the dynamics in my family. After meeting my parents and Adam at a company barbecue, she pulled me aside. "Conrad, do you notice how they treat you differently? Your dad spent the whole event talking about how Adam charmed some client, but you are the one who landed the Westridge commercial contract that saved the company during the recession. That is just how they are." I defended weakly. "Adam has always been the favorite." "That is not normal or fair," she insisted. "You do all the work, and he gets all the credit." Her outside perspective made me finally confront what I had been feeling for years. The next day, I tried talking to my parents about the unequal treatment. "You are being too sensitive," my mother dismissed. "We love you both equally. Adam just needs more encouragement," my father added. "You have always been self-sufficient. You should take it as a compliment." That was their standard response whenever I raised concerns. I was too sensitive, or should feel complimented that they took my contributions for granted. It was classic gaslighting, though I did not recognize it as such at the time. The company continued to grow under my guidance. A municipal contract I secured and managed doubled our revenue practically overnight. I hired and trained new project managers, expanded our services to include commercial renovations, and implemented green building practices that attracted high-end clients. All the while I watched as Adam got credit for work he had nothing to do with. He would show up for client meetings I had arranged, shake hands, make small talk, and somehow my father would later refer to these projects as deals Adam helped land. I considered leaving many times. Jennifer encouraged me to start my own company, arguing that with my skills and client relationships, I could easily succeed independently. But loyalty and that ingrained sense of family obligation kept me tied to the business my father had started and that I had helped build. Adam's financial irresponsibility became increasingly apparent over the years. He would borrow money from the business for vague personal investments that never panned out. He would make promises to clients that were impossible to fulfill, forcing me to rework contracts and schedules to cover for his mistakes. Once he authorized expensive materials for a job without checking specifications, resulting in a $20,000 loss that I had to find ways to offset in our budget. Through it, all my parents made excuses for him. He is learning, they would say, or his people skills make up for these small mistakes. Small mistakes that I always had to fix. After nearly a decade of this imbalanced family dynamic, my father announced his plan to semi-retire and restructure the company leadership. He called a family dinner at their house, the same modest home where we had grown up, though they could have afforded something much nicer with the company's success. "I want to discuss the future of the business with everyone together," he said over the phone when inviting me. Despite years of disappointment, I felt a spark of hope. Surely now, with the company's success so clearly tied to my efforts, my contributions would be recognized. Perhaps my father was finally ready to acknowledge what everyone else in the industry already knew, that I was the driving force behind our growth and success. Jennifer squeezed my hand as we drove to my parents' house that evening. "Whatever happens, know your worth," she said. "You have built something valuable regardless of whether they see it." The dinner started pleasantly enough. My mother had prepared all of Adam's favorites as usual. We made small talk about current projects and community events, carefully avoiding any substantive discussion until after the meal. Adam arrived 20 minutes late without apology, a typical occurrence that no one but me seemed to notice. After dessert, my father cleared his throat and motioned for everyone to stay seated. "As you know, I am planning to step back from day-to-day operations. I have been thinking long and hard about the future of the company and our family legacy." I sat up straighter, prepared to finally hear some recognition of my years of dedication. "Adam will be taking over as president and majority shareholder of the company," my father announced, looking directly at my brother with pride. "Additionally, your mother and I have decided that he will inherit this house and the majority of our personal assets." The room seemed to tilt around me. I looked at Adam, who wore a smug smile that indicated this was not news to him. I turned to my mother, who was beaming at Adam as if he had just cured cancer rather than been handed a successful company he had done virtually nothing to build. "Conrad," Jennifer whispered, noticing my shock. "What about me?" I managed to ask, my voice sounding distant to my own ears. My father turned to me with an expression that was almost pitying. "Conrad, you have always been the capable one. You will receive a 10% share of the company as a minority partner, working under Adam's direction." "Working under Adam," I repeated, unable to process what I was hearing. "Your brother needs this security more than you do." My father continued, delivering the words that would forever change my relationship with my family. "Your brother deserves it. Deserves it." Those two words cut deeper than any others could have. What exactly had Adam done to deserve the fruits of my labor? What metric of deserving was my father using that placed Adam's sporadic, mediocre contributions above my years of dedicated service? How I stood up my chair, scraping loudly against the floor. How does he deserve this? I built this company into what it is today. I sacrificed my education, my time, everything for this business while he came and went as he pleased. And now he gets everything. "Now, Conrad," my mother interjected in that placating tone she always used when I expressed any negative emotion, "you are being dramatic. Adam is the eldest, and he needs this structure and responsibility, and I do not. I have been handling all the responsibility already while he has been avoiding it." Adam finally spoke up, his tone condescending. Bro, relax. You will still have a job. You can keep doing all the boring paperwork stuff you are good at. I will be handling the big picture and client relationships. I looked from face to face, searching for any sign that this was some kind of terrible joke. All I saw was my father's stubborn certainty, my mother's willing complicity, and Adam's entitled satisfaction. No, I said finally. No, I will not be doing the boring paperwork stuff under Adam's direction. I quit. My declaration was met with immediate protests. Do not be ridiculous, my father said sternly. You cannot just quit, my mother added. This is family. Adam rolled his eyes. So dramatic. This is why Dad made the right choice. I stood up and walked out without another word, Jennifer following close behind. The next morning, I went to the office early and began clearing out my personal items. By the time the rest of the staff arrived, I had already downloaded copies of the projects I had personally developed and deleted the original files from the company system. Everything I had created was my intellectual property after all. My father arrived an hour later, clearly having been called by someone. What do you think you are doing? He demanded, watching me. Box up my awards and certifications. Exactly what I said I would do. I am leaving. Be reasonable, Conrad. Where will you go? What will you do? Everything you know is here. I stopped and looked at him, really looked at him, for perhaps the first time. This man, who had shaped so much of my life through his approval and disapproval, suddenly seemed smaller somehow. Everything I built is here, I corrected him. And you just gave it all to Adam. My knowledge, my skills, my client relationships, those go with me. You cannot just walk away from family, he insisted. Watch me, I replied, picking up my last box and walking toward the door. Oh, and you might want to figure out how the project management system works. I changed all the passwords. As I reached the door, he called out one last time. Your brother deserves this chance, Conrad. He has never had the opportunities you have had. I paused, hand on the doorknob. No, Dad. Adam has had every opportunity. The difference is that I worked for what I built while he waited for you to hand it to him. And now you have. Good luck to you both. With that, I walked out of the business I had helped build, leaving behind nothing but the empty shell of a family that had never truly valued me. The first weeks after walking away from my family and the company were some of the darkest of my life. There were moments when I questioned my decision, when the weight of throwing away a decade of work felt overwhelming. Jennifer found me one night, sitting in the dark in our apartment, staring at the wall. I gave them everything, I whispered, my youth, my education, my ideas, and they just handed it all to Adam like I was nothing. Jennifer sat beside me and took my hand. You did not give them everything, Conrad. You still have your skills, your knowledge, your work ethic. No one can take those from you. Her words were the lifeline I needed. The next day, I started researching what it would take to establish my own construction management consultancy. I had non-compete clauses in my employment contract, but since I had never been properly compensated as an executive, despite functioning as one, my lawyer assured me they were largely unenforceable. I created a business plan, established an LLC, and designed a website highlighting my experience and expertise without directly mentioning our family company. The early days were lean and difficult. I second-guessed myself constantly. Had I overestimated my own contributions to our family business, would any clients work with me independently? My first break came when a former supplier reached out after hearing I had left the family business. Your brother tried to renegotiate our contract, he explained, wanted to extend payment terms to 90 days, and demanded deeper discounts. I told him we had established our terms with you, and he said you were no longer involved, and things would be done his way now. I maintained my professionalism despite feeling a twist of vindication. I am sorry to hear that. I valued our working relationship, as did we. That is actually why I am calling. We have some clients looking for project management expertise on a consulting basis. Would you be interested in meeting with them? That first referral led to others. Former clients who had worked directly with me began seeking me out when they heard I had established my own firm. Former employees who had respected my leadership reached out looking for opportunities. Slowly but surely, my new business began to take shape. 3 months after my departure, I received my first update about the family business through an industry colleague. "You heard about Wilkinson Construction's trouble with the riverfront project?" he asked during a networking lunch. Wilkinson Construction was the new name my father had given the company, after I left, removing the original family name we had operated under for decades. "What trouble?" I asked, working to keep my tone neutral. "Missed 3 deadlines already. Word is, they have completely mismanaged the project timeline and budget. The client is threatening to pull the contract and sue for damages." The riverfront project was one I had secured before leaving a major commercial development that would have been the company's largest to date. I had created detailed project plans and schedules, all of which had apparently been ignored or mismanaged in my absence. I wished I could say I felt sorry for them, but the truth was that hearing about their struggles validated my worth in a way my family never had. I had been the keystone holding the company together, and without me, the structure was crumbling. About a month later, I received a text message from my mother that made my blood boil. "Conrad, we need your help. The business is struggling, and we have some cash flow issues. Could you loan us $50,000 to get through this rough patch? Family helps family." I stared at the message for a long time, letting the audacity of the request sink in. After disinheriting me, after handing everything I had built to Adam, they had the nerve to ask me for money. My response was brief and final: "Ask your heir." I blocked their numbers after that, focusing entirely on building my new life and business. 6 months turned into a year. My consulting firm grew steadily, acquiring a reputation for excellence and reliability. I hired 2 project managers and an administrative assistant. Jennifer and I moved into a larger apartment and began discussing marriage. I was reviewing contracts in a coffee shop when someone slid into the chair across from me. I looked up to find Adam looking considerably less polished than when I had last seen him. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by a wrinkled button-down shirt. The confident smirk had been replaced by dark circles under his eyes. "We need to talk," he said, without preamble. "We have nothing to discuss," I replied, gathering my papers. "The company is failing," he blurted out. "Dad had to remortgage the house. We have lost most of our major clients. The bank is threatening to call our business loans." I paused, looking at him directly. "And this concerns me how? Come on, Conrad. You know how to fix this. You built all the systems. You had relationships with all the clients. Just come back and help us straighten things out." I almost laughed at the irony. "Let me get this straight. You got the company, the house, everything, because you deserved it. But now that you have run it all into the ground, you want me to come back and fix your mess. It is your company too," he insisted. "Dad gave you 10%. I declined that generous offer. Remember, I walked away with nothing, just like you all planned. The difference is I built something new while you destroyed what we had." Adam's facade of contrition slipped, revealing the entitlement beneath. "You always think you are so much better than me. You could have stayed and helped make it work." "No, Adam. I could have stayed and continued to do all the work while you and Dad took all the credit and rewards. Not anymore. You deserved it, remember? So now you get to deal with it." I stood to leave, but he grabbed my arm. "Dad was wrong." "Okay. Is that what you want to hear? He made a mistake." Looking down at his hand until he released me, I replied, "The mistake was mine for wasting so many years trying to earn recognition from people who were never going to give it. Good luck with the business, Adam. You are going to need it." As I walked away, I felt a weight lifting. I no longer needed their approval or recognition. I had proven my worth to myself, and that was what mattered. A year and a half after I walked away, my parents requested a meeting. Against Jennifer's advice, I agreed to see them one last time, choosing a neutral location, a restaurant downtown. They looked older, worn down by the reality of the company's decline. My father, once proud and authoritative, seemed diminished. My mother, always ready to smooth things over, was subdued. "We made a terrible mistake," my father said after we had ordered. "The business has failed. We have lost nearly everything, and it is my fault for not recognizing who was truly essential to our success." "It is too late for that," I replied evenly. "I have moved on." "We are your family," my mother pleaded. Surely that still means something. I considered her words carefully before responding. Family should be the people who value you, who recognize your worth, who celebrate your successes. For me, that is Jennifer, who has stood by me and believed in me when you did not. That is my team at my company, who respect my leadership and share in our collective success. "We can do better," my father insisted. "Give us another chance." "I gave you chances for over a decade," I reminded him. "You made your choice, and I have made mine. I wish you well, but our paths diverge here." As I paid the bill and prepared to leave, my father asked one last question. "Are you happy, Conrad? Did walking away give you what you needed?" I smiled genuinely. "Yes. I am happier than I have ever been. I built something that is truly mine, surrounded myself with people who appreciate me, and learned what I am truly worth." Sometimes walking away is the only way to find what you deserve. 2 years later, Jennifer and I married in a small ceremony, surrounded by true friends and my chosen family. My biological family was not invited. My company continues to thrive, expanding into new markets and building a reputation for excellence and innovation. The lesson I learned through all of this is that your value does not come from others' recognition, but from your own sense of worth. Sometimes the people who should value you the most are the least capable of seeing your true worth. When that happens, the bravest thing you can do is walk away and build something new that reflects who you truly are. Have you ever had to walk away from a situation where you were undervalued? Let me know in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to hear more stories like this one, and share with someone who might need to hear that they deserve better. Thank you for listening, and remember that recognizing your own value is the first step toward finding the respect you truly deserve.